As she writes, like, whole wheat toast with estate honey, honey from her goddamn estate.
She's obsessed with her honey.
But she's obsessed that she's
Meghan Markle posted a bizarre video on her social media yesterday, which sent several people into absolute meltdown. It is the cringiest, most uncomfortable.
Like, tell me what that moment was like for you. What was Diana like? You know, she goes, oh, how sweet. I'll have to tell H about it.
Oh, God.
So already she's like levitating herself above this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
It's not Harry, it's H. It's my H.
Yep.
Like, I'll tell him that. We're separate over here. And by the way, presumably, isn't your husband watching this show and cheering you on?
Yeah, right.
Your big launch?
Right.
Like, you're
He's
going
not
to
doing
have
anything
to
else.
relay this to him?
Right.
Meghan Markle just posted a video, and it might be the most talked about thing she's done all year. Not because it's inspiring or moving or even scandalous in the usual way, but because it was awkward, painfully awkward.
This is deeply problematic on a number of levels. Number one, here's the problem. We don't like you, Meghan Markle. We don't like you. And no amount of posting videos that you think are going to humanize you will make us like you.
A clip that was supposed to look fun and intimate, maybe even a little goofy, has instead triggered a full-scale internet meltdown. For some, it was pure secondhand embarrassment. For others, it was confirmation of what they've suspected for years, that Meghan has crossed the invisible line between authenticity and performance.
And going on to say the prince and the starlet, according to Vanity Fair, have become local villains in Montecito. Quoting someone as saying, they are the most entitled, disingenuous people on the planet. They moved from England to get away from the scrutiny of the press, supposedly, and all they do is try to get in the press in the United States. So what does all this tell us? Except she didn't put eye makeup on. And she also is pretending that she's crying. And we did a zero in, like we zoomed in just to see. There isn't a tear in sight, Dan. Look at this. I invite the viewers to take a close-up look at this. Where's the tear?
In Hollywood, reinvention isn't just common, it's a survival skill. Stars change their style, tweak their image, reinvent themselves for every era. But Meghan's latest transformation isn't being read as a clever pivot. Even her most loyal supporters are finding it hard to defend.
She can't keep a staff in London. She can't keep a staff in Montecito. She's a bully. She's obsessed with her own ego, face on television, etc., and playing the victim. So no amount of humanizing videos, even if she managed to find one, are going to work. You know, if you actually are a good person, you don't show up.
Because the warm, approachable, California-born Duchess, who once charmed the world with her relatable, unfiltered energy, now appears almost unrecognizable. And not just in her face, but in her entire presence. Her public demeanor, her inner circle, her strategic appearances, all rebuilt into something colder, sleeker, and far more calculated.
Which is, I'm going to show you how to make a happy, warm, loving home after I have successfully severed my husband's ties from his entire family, after I have successfully severed every single tie save my mother from my own family of origin.
And make no mistake, this isn't idle gossip. The changes are so precise, so intentional, that they're forcing a bigger conversation. What happens when a public figure trades relatability for perfection? How far can you control your image before people stop believing it's real? And the most dangerous question of all, can you ever come back from it?
I think to the moment, to the child, and truly to like the sanctity of what goes on for any humans who are actually in that situation. She's drunk on her own ego. Your thoughts?
Recently, broadcaster Megyn Kelly decided to say what many in the media had only whispered in private. She didn't casually mention Meghan's changing look, she dissected it on one of the most watched cultural platforms in America. Sharper facial angles, a noticeably narrower nose, cheekbones that looked sculpted rather than softly contoured. Then came the question that hit like a direct challenge. What happened to the Meghan we once knew?
When they're no longer part of the royal family, the royals don't talk to them.
The king does not talk to his own son. None of the senior royals talk to these two. They are total pariahs in the family because the only currency they have is trashing the royal family and the monarchy. And every time they try and do something...
It wasn't a slip. It was calculated, and it landed. Within hours, social media feeds were swamped with side-by-side comparisons. The Meghan of her Suits days, all warmth and approachability, against the high-gloss Duchess we see now. The conversation shifted almost instantly. It wasn't about whether she looked better or worse. It was about whether she looked real.
You're right. There's maybe a thought that they have a private moment like that, and maybe it's nice between them, and it's a nice memory of a silly moment before she gives birth. What it feels like to me is she's in a PR firm meeting, and someone says, we need to humanize.
Behind the scenes, according to one media strategist I spoke to, there was panic. This was the first time a mainstream voice pushed the narrative from gossip blogs to primetime TV, they said. Once that happens, the damage is harder to contain.
Which is, I'm going to show you how to make a happy, warm, loving home after I have successfully severed my husband's ties from his entire family, after I have successfully severed every single tie save my mother from my own family of origin.
For Meghan's image team, this was a PR crisis hiding in plain sight. Cosmetic experts, speaking generally, not about Meghan specifically, have long said transformations this significant don't happen without careful planning. Look back at her public appearances over the last 5 years, and the change is undeniable. Her jawline, once gently rounded, now a sharp sculpted edge. Her nose tip, once softer, now narrow and refined. Cheekbones that have subtly migrated upward, perfectly symmetrical.
As you go through your phone, find some fun moments of you and Harry, and we'll post them and everyone will like you again. You can't manufacture that stuff, right? It feels fake. It feels weird. I don't understand why they would think something like that would work, but it's...
Each tweak small enough to dodge headlines on its own, but together they've built an entirely different face. It's as if the Meghan who captivated the world in 2016 has been dismantled and rebuilt piece by piece until the old version no longer exists. And here's the unspoken truth of that process. When you rebuild your face in increments, the audience never has one shock moment to react to. By the time they notice, the transformation is complete, and the old you has been erased.
And going on to say the prince and the starlet, according to Vanity Fair, have become local villains in Montecito. Quoting someone as saying they are the most entitled, disingenuous people on the planet. They moved from England to get away from the scrutiny of the press, supposedly, and all they do is try to get in the press in the United States. So what does all this tell us?
In Beverly Hills PR circles, there's a phrase quietly making the round: the Windsor-adjacent rebrand. In plain English, Meghan is reshaping herself to match an aristocratic ideal of beauty. Not the warmth of a Hollywood smile, but the perfection of a palace portrait. A look designed to whisper, "I am royalty," without having to prove it.
These are not people who are just posting on a whim, right? This is an entire industry. As I know you've covered this in depth. This is a whole industry. They've got people working on this 24 hours a day to try to make this Meghan Markle thing into a thing. I don't think it's been very...
This isn't just vanity. In certain elite social tiers, image is currency. The right look opens doors, seals invitations, and signals status before you say a word. Meghan's new face isn't just about looking different. It's about belonging, visually, to a class of people who are born, not made. An industry insider put it bluntly to me. She's removing the outsider from her face. In her mind, this is what permanence looks like.
Successful so far, but
No.
I feel like this is just a blatant attempt at it.
It sort of reminds me of when Chrissy Teigen had what we now know was an abortion, which she at the time told us was a miscarriage, and posted photos of her crying, like hysterical in the hospital room. It was so weird. First of all, who takes pictures of themselves?
Her most recent birthday celebration felt less like a private gathering and more like a calculated product reveal. A high-end Beverly Hills restaurant, designer gowns, floral arrangements that looked like they belonged in a couture runway show. Gone were the old friends from her pre-royal life. Gone was Harry. In their place, Hollywood power brokers, influential producers, and, tellingly, a professional photographer capturing every flawless angle.
When they're crying and then post them online, especially after losing a baby? Look, what the F? I don't get it. This is not losing a baby, thank God, but it is just as intimate and none of our effing business. But
the resulting photos didn't look like snapshots from a party. They looked like promotional material. Even the tributes from attendees sounded suspiciously like press statements. Inspiring, empowered, visionary. Not a single candid shot. No grainy phone snaps. No warmth. It was the seamless debut of Meghan Markle 2.0.
Needs us to love her. So she will do whatever it takes, and she doesn't know how to make us love her. The other thing I'm going to say, and I know this is weird, but there's one of those conspiracy theories on the internet that she might not have actually carried her babies, one or both, that they may have used a surrogate. Trust me, because I'm neck deep in all the...
One guest, speaking off the record, summed it up. It wasn't a birthday. It was a campaign shoot with champagne. Observers have noted that Meghan's public outings no longer feel spontaneous. No candid paparazzi shots of her grabbing coffee and jeans, no moments caught off guard. Now it's always immaculate tailoring, perfect hair, and a pose that feels choreographed. Every move is part of the narrative, and nothing is left to chance.
News around these two. And there are many people who long before today are convinced she used surrogates and that her pregnancies were fake, one or both of them. And this is the only time that I've actually indulged the theory, because if we can show that video again, I don't know, can we show it without playing the weird sound?
But the tighter you control the narrative, the more the public looks for what you're hiding. And once that curiosity takes root, everything becomes evidence. Old rumors resurface, new ones form overnight. Even something as small as the angle of her smile becomes a point of speculation.
And going on to say the prince and the starlet, according to Vanity Fair, have become local villains in Montecito. Quoting someone as saying they are the most entitled, disingenuous people on the planet. They moved from England to get away from the scrutiny of the press, supposedly, and all they do is try to get in the press in the United States. So what does all this tell us?
In chasing this vision of flawless royalty, Meghan risks losing something money can't buy back: relatability. The woman who once hugged strangers in a crowd and shared personal stories now seems untouchable. And the more polished she becomes, the more distant she appears.
That belly looks very abnormal. That it looks very strange. If you look up close in the video, and I encourage people, look at this. It looks like there's like a bag or like some sort of something shoved up under a dress. It does not look like a pregnant belly. It looks all bumpy.
Even media outlets that once supported her have shifted tone. Hashtags like face of the firm and new Meghan trend across platforms. Tabloids run transformation timelines instead of covering her causes. When the public sees your image before your actions, the countdown begins.
It's very strange. It looks like what you'd get if you put like a pillowcase full of like socks or something under your dress. You gotta look up close. There's very strange bumps coming off of that pregnant belly. I don't know why, Stu, but for the first time ever, I'm kind of like...
A senior branding consultant told me, you can win elegance, you can win power, but if you lose warmth, you lose the room. And when you lose the room, everything else crumbles.
Is this something we should be indulging? Because it doesn't look normal to me. The belly doesn't look normal, doesn't look like where a pregnant woman's belly is. And I don't understand what all those bumps on the belly are. I don't get it.
That's interesting. Yeah, it does look different, I guess. I mean, I suppose.
So here's where we stand. Meghan Markle may have reshaped her face, but has she reshaped her truth? Behind the flawless symmetry lies a widening gap between the image she presents and the woman people thought they knew. If this transformation is about empowerment, The proof won't come from staged events or airbrushed photos. It will come from letting the mask slip, from moments that aren't rehearsed.
Suppose it's possible that, I don't know, I wasn't there. But I will say, I noticed the same thing you're noticing, looking at it. I mean, it's the first thing that I think kind of pops into your mind. It's like, what?
Because a crown can glitter under the lights, but it can't hide the cracks forever. And the question now isn't whether Meghan's look has changed. It's whether the woman beneath it still exists, or whether the brand has swallowed her whole.